Welcome to Software Leaders Uncensored with Steve Taplin. Welcome to Software Leaders Uncensored. I'm your host, Steve Taplin, 25 years serial tech entrepreneur. My new book, Fail Hard, Win Big, comes out this month here in June 2025. It's my story of 30 ventures with 20 failures and 10 wins. The common element throughout my ventures is I always build custom software to have better operating systems, to create a better end user experience, and to increase enterprise value. I'm now the CEO of Sonatify Technology. We are a nearshore custom software development firm. And today I am joined by Kevin Surace. Kevin has an amazing background. This is going to be a fun interview. Consultant, CEO, board member, advisor, keynote speaker, music director, and producer. Kevin, I don't even think I could get this all out. Welcome. You bet. Kevin, take a few minutes.
My goodness.
and walk
I went to school
my
in
listeners
Rochester,
through the journey of your career.
Rochester Institute of Technology, bachelor's in electrical engineering technology. For me, that included software and hardware, which is great because I've actually gotten to use both throughout my career. I love working on hardware designs, but I love writing software and love managing software teams. I manage better than I write these days because I can't keep up. Well, hey, what's great about AI is it fixes all my syntax, right? So I can write pseudocode and it'll fix it for me, which is actually good because I don't remember all the syntax of every language. But look, I started in the semiconductor industry, National Semiconductor, Seiko Epson, and then moved into systems and software and worked on the very first smart cellular data phone that was called Air Communicator, developed after that the first AI virtual assistant. That's almost 30 years ago. I mean, what we want Siri to do, we were already doing almost 30 years ago, surprisingly. It was very hard, and it was very limited in the technology, and it was, an immense amount of energy to produce anything. And we had to build our own data center, but we did it. We had 3 million users on the system, and we can talk about that and how hard that was and how much money we spent, et cetera. And then it continued on. Did the first multivariate reverse auctions for the web. A company called Perfect Commerce got bought. And then we did. Then I went to another company called General Magic. General Magic invented the virtual assistant, among many other things, and agents. So we had telescript agents, software agents that would do your bidding, and they were pretty darn smart. Actually, this is late 90s, right? So all these things we're talking about now were really invented in the late 90s, but could not be as interactive with us in the English language until we had, true transformers, right? Could understand the entire English language. And then did several. I've been doing this a long time. Two more things. Then I did HVAC and building materials and HVAC management with AI for the built environment, commercial buildings. I got to retrofit the Empire State Building and the New York Stock Exchange and tens of thousands of other projects, but those are big ones. And then I had it's interesting. A friend of mine was in the software QA automation space. And I looked at this thing and I said, I never thought about it, even though I ran QA teams, right? And I started looking at it and I said, how much money is spent in software QA? And it's about 120 billion a year, and 119 billion of that is people. And I go, something's wrong. We've been making test automation tools since about the mid-90s.
That's an interesting stat.
Were the big early ones. And today, 99% of the spend is people. Something's wrong. Something's not right here. And it turns out it has continued to be highly people-intensive, highly manual testing, especially regression testing, and especially ongoing application upgrades, which is actually where all the spend is. So when I say software test, of course, Steve, you're thinking of, well, I'm developing this application and then I'm going to test it. Okay, erase that thought. I'm JP Morgan. How many software applications do I manage for my corporation? Manage and maintain. Take a guess. I know the number.
You're really close. Guess a company like JP Morgan probably has
15,000 applications have to be updated, upgraded, changed, API changes, security changes, stack changes. 15,000. Every time you make a change, what do? You got to run through an entire regression suite that might have been written 10 years ago. There's not even an owner of it, right? You have to do it. And that's often manual. 70 to 80% is still manual. And if it isn't, it's painfully maintained at a very high cost, right? For 15,000 applications, they easily have 1,000 regression tests per application, let's say, minimum. So they have something like 15 million end-to-end regression tests, right, at the UX level. 15 million. You have to maintain that. And so you look at their IT budget, which is X billions of dollars,
That's a
and you
lot.
say about 20% of that IT budget is just software QA. The maintenance of forget new applications, just the maintenance of the legacy applications that I must keep running because they operate our company. That seemed like a big opportunity and a really hard thing to solve because of my experience in AI for many years. I had the crazy notion about 14 years ago that we would begin to deploy ML and AI to find the bugs for us. Sounds easy. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my career, but I am hell-bent on getting there. And actually, we've basically gotten there now. We're at a point, at least at AppVance, where we are really doing that. It's a game changer. People can't believe it.
So
Yeah.
you're the CEO. You are the CTO of AppVance, correct? And so that was a good lead-in on what you do, but keep
prospect
going.
on Monday,
Tell
right?
for the
And this
listeners who
prospect
aren't familiar.
for this one application, because they're doing like a POC or POV, right? This prospect has a few hundred test cases end to end, pretty straightforward, lots of asserts or what we say validations, right? Some logical validations, etc. They gave us an application that they know is performing very, very well through their test cases. So well that we'll probably find nothing. Right? So we implement a few of their test cases in the normal way. And then we release AI. And our AI script generation, you have to do some training, but once you've trained it and it's built a digital twin of the application, you know what a digital twin is, but a digital twin of the application, it's learned enough about the application to start writing its own test cases and its own test scripts. We let it run just for a few hours and we stopped it. It wrote 15,000 new test cases. And against just a handful of their validations, found over 900 issues that they have never seen before. They're real, and you have a screenshot, and you can see them, and we can tell you your users are getting these. You just don't know about it. But we can find stuff that nothing else will find. And I'll give you an example: is if I write a test script, right? If I write a test automation script, I'm going to test a pathway and some outcomes one time. But users will take perhaps hundreds of different user flows to then get to that point where there's supposed to be a particular outcome. Well, because I'm running a small test team, I only do that one flow. But AI can generate 500 other flows that are all supposed to get to the same result. And what we often find is 5 or 10% of them don't get the same result, and you're shocked. You go, how can this be? Right? How come we could never see it? You tested it once. We tested it hundreds of times, all in parallel, all really fast. So that's the power of AI generating test cases outside of things you would ever thought about, and it's a real eye opener to people. So anyway, that was the vision at the beginning. So we're doing that. It works. It's kind of crazy, and people don't believe it, but then they see the results, and it's funny, Steve. They'll argue this. Oh, those can't be bugs. I said, well, it gives you the test script to repeat it. Just run it. Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, well, yeah, whatever's supposed to come up is not coming up. It's wrong, or it's broken page, or wrong number, or whatever, wrong logic. Anyway, fascinating field, very hard problem.
So when you're running and you come up with that many scenarios, your AI tool comes up with that many scenarios. How can you possibly test them to see what's valid, what's not? How does your tool?
A tool is like worth a screwdriver, right? Someone will pay you $2 for that.
Platform.
Steve, did you ever want to start a tool company?
Thank you for the correction. Probably. How does your platform handle this?
It launches nuclear weapons or something. Otherwise, they don't want to.
Unless that one tool is really good.
So people say that, oh my God, there's 15,000 new test cases that you created, and after time they go, actually, they're all valid. These are real user flows that people can take and will take. And then they say, well, how am I going to run them? Well, we run in parallel, highly in parallel. As long as you have a server large enough to take 1,000 browsers in parallel, 10,000, whatever. So if I'm running 1,000 in parallel, 1,000 threads in parallel, and I got 15,000 tests and each one averages, 5 minutes, you can do the math, but I'm probably done in 30 minutes. I'm done pretty quickly, right? 30, 40 minutes. So I think people look at that and say, oh, I've got to run these all overnight. Or worse yet, I've got to condense them down to the minimum number that I've got to run. I said, what are you running? Something from 30 years ago? We can run highly threaded, highly in parallel. I can run 3 million, literally 3 million in parallel if that's what you want to do. So we're not the limitation. And you're running in the cloud. The cloud is clearly not the limitation. Just crank up the server, even for an hour, And so we can run as many as you want in parallel. By the way, then afterwards, you can also sort them out and say, look, I'm just going to take some representative numbers. And I'm going to take, 1,200 of these instead of all 15,000. You can do what you want, but AI generated these as legitimate user flows, legitimate validations that have to be checked, and it gives you about 10 times the visibility to the quality of your software than you ever could have afforded.
So within what is
Sure.
appropriate to disclose?
There's three big areas. So first of all, we have a recorder. A recorder has been a standard method to quickly gen up end-to-end test scripts, because anyone can basically use the application to a written test case, and we will write the code for you. So we do have one of those because people still want to do that. They want that level of control, and we've got a recorder that has ML and AI that picks the locators and accessors and picks visual identifiers and does all of that work for you. You don't need a co-pilot. It doesn't need much human help. Just do what you're doing and it'll write the code. It's very, very good at that. Then we have AI script generation, which I just described. And so after a training session where it builds a digital twin of the application, it then goes off and says, I'm going to write every user flow that you have allowed me to do. You can stop it from doing things and cordon it off and put guardrails and all kinds of things, right? So it'll do that and it'll present you the results. It'll give you all the scripts to be part of your regression suite. And finally, we have launched something called Genie. And Genie is amazing because the goal here was to say, what comes after the recorder? So before the recorder, there was type in Selenium. It's very slow. Recorder sped that up by 5 to 10x. If I can use the application, we will record the script and it's fully editable. Okay. How about if I speed up the recorder another x? Could I do that? And that's what we're doing with Genie. So Genie is a Gen AI product. It is based on 5 tuned transformers and a code generator. And we have some white papers that describe all this. People say, why do you have to use 5 different transformers? Well, I've got transformers tuned and trained on certain things, like recognizing the kinds of images that are buttons and links and things like that on a page. Another one that does OCR. Another one that is just designed to map distances on a page between certain elements so that we know what's close to something, right? Because we need to analyze that. Another one that is a traditional LLM, although all privatized, and is looking at understanding the test case language and comparing that to the options that we're seeing on the page, right? So all of those have to work in sync to say, if I said in my test case, click the blue button, I have to evaluate everything on this long scrolling page to figure out what you must have meant. And that's what we do with 5 transformers. It's like a million lines of code, 5 transformers. It took us 2 years of, a really top applied AI team in the space to do this. But this is the generation. It means if you've written your test cases, it will take, like if you have 15 million test cases like JP Morgan, right? You can feed those in and this will write the test scripts in code for you and run them. There's no recorder. There's not even a human around. It's like no human. Right? And it's writing the code, perfect code.
And Kevin, before the show, you were telling me that you're a drummer, you're in the music industry, you're obviously passionate about tech. How in the world did your music and
left brain, right brain,
AI
right?
tech background
both
influence
sides work.
what you're doing?
One of the things I'm on the board at RIT, and one of the things we learned at RIT is that many of our best engineering students actually come in and want to continue to play music, or they're in musical theater. It's fascinating. So we have this performing arts scholars program so that they can continue to do so, but they don't need to get a degree in music to participate in the music programs, or a degree in performing arts to participate in performing arts. So they can get their engineering degree and still be on stage in Oklahoma, right? Or whatever it is. So you can see these awards. I've got some awards back here and all over this bookshelf, and those are either film awards or stage awards from my work on Broadway, my work in regional, my work in community theater as an artistic director, my work as a music director, and my work in film, creation of film, production of film, etc.
All right, Kevin. So what's harder?
Great question. Well, composing a song
or navigating a Series C funding?
Easy. And now that they have the stem separator and a MIDI exporter, it's a whole new world.
All right.
Look, Series C funding is really hard. Unless you are a Deca unicorn, and that's all a lot of people want to invest in today, right? They want the thing that's going to 10 billion or more, and because it makes the fund. It's a fund maker. I don't need to play along, right? And I've never chosen those. I've always chosen really, really hard things. I have 90. I just got awarded my 95th patent. I'm doing really hard work. Thank you, Steve. I like hard things. They don't always make the most
Congratulations.
money, right? Sometimes the easiest thing makes them, and you know what I mean, right? You're in software. And sometimes you look over there and go, that was easy. So look at Scale AI, right? Scale AI today is worth $30 billion based on Facebook's and Meta's investment, right? 30 billion. Scale AI is a whole bunch of people in rooms essentially adding rules to AI. Okay. Why didn't I think of that and just hire thousands of people? And yes, there's some basic technology there, and yes, they have to get into the systems and put the rules in. But they're basically adding supervision or adding rules or adding guardrails to our LLMs, right? Fantastic. $30 billion?
Well, I'll tell you what, you got to work hard, you got to solve problems, and luck is
right?
certainly a part
All
of
of us
it.
in software, everybody in software, unless you happen to be an OpenAI or 20 companies today, are looking at those going, these valuations are like nothing we've ever seen.
It's pretty nuts. The former CTO of OpenAI
yes, she did.
got a $10 billion valuation before she even
really like her a lot.
Plan. I mean, nuts. I get it. I know a lot of really smart people that aren't worth 10 billion based on their potential idea of leading
that are
a company.
$1 billion or more. I think we have 400 or 500 unicorns right now funded, most of which haven't gotten out public, right? So maybe 90 to 95% of these unicorns will not maintain that valuation or will just die. And we've already seen some that just get killed, or VCs that merge them into one of their other more successful companies so they don't have to really write it off, right? So that's what's going on. So, everybody don't despair. Not everything is worth 400 billion. There will be some companies that are. Clearly, OpenAI is at a $10 billion ARR in about 2 years, from 0 to 10 billion. I mean, in 2 years, 0 to 10 million is a great run. Anyone would be happy with that. Okay, that's 1,000 times better than maybe anyone's ever done in their life. Almost, right? It's kind of crazy.
It is. All right. What are some fun projects you're working on right now? What kind of challenges are you solving? What kind of fun projects do you have?
And what you find is there's continuing effort to get better and open the aperture for what you accept, right? So in our business at AppVance, we have an aperture of here's what the test cases need to look like. And at first, it was a very narrow aperture. If they look exactly like this for this exact application, it's going to process and create code. And we have to open that and open that and open that more so that ultimately we can handle 95% of test cases that come in. But you have test cases that can call out to APIs and do validations there and validations against SQL databases, et cetera. And while the platform supports it, we're not yet supporting all of that in the kind of language that people use in their test cases. So there's years of work to do to continue to open that aperture and make this better and easier to use. And that is a very tall pole in the tent, no question. I'm also a chair of a cybersecurity company called Token Ring. We make literally a ring and some other things. One is a token biostick that are tied biometrically to your fingerprint. So you cannot access your applications without that ring on your finger with your fingerprint and being in proximity to your notebook. This is fascinating because now no one in Russia can get into your accounts no matter what, right?
Cool.
And if you lose the ring, it doesn't work with anyone else's finger. And your fingerprint's not stored in the network, it's stored inside the ring in a bank secured integrated circuit that if you try to break into the ring, it burns out the bits inside the IC. So it's really fascinating. It is cutting edge. So and I'm out speaking a lot. I'm doing about 40 keynotes a year, about half of those on AI and the impact of AI to your business, to your home life, to robotics that are coming along, to how is it going to impact what you do in your daily life? How's it going to make your work environment, your company more productive? Why you have to get on that bandwagon today, why you have to lead doing everything with AI. I do everything with Gen AI, everything. I don't do anything alone. I have maybe 10 times the output I used to have. Look at the numbers from coders. You're running software companies. I mean, all coders would better be using Copilot or Devin or whatever, or Gemini, whatever is your thing, right? And you're going to be 50 or 60% more productive depending on what it is you're doing. And why
Yes.
shouldn't you be that? Tier 1 customer.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kevin, young engineers, freshly out of college, maybe that haven't reached that 3 or 5 year experience.
Right.
Often I hear they're stuck on projects that might be government related that they can't use or haven't integrated any AI systems. And
Yep.
my advice to them is that nights and
You're
weekends,
right.
you better
That
be
period.
making yourself an AI
In
expert or
almost
you're going to become
any
obsolete. What are your
field
thoughts?
today? Finance, marketing, sales, coding, software QA, right? If you are not reaching out and trying to use the cutting edge AI for your field, and some are going to work better than others, and some you're going to have to cycle through, etc. If you're not doing that, the train left the station, right? You're already chasing that train. You're going to be behind the caboose. The train's going 60 mile an hour, and you can't run that fast, and you will be out of a job. Right? The jobs that are going to get eliminated are the people who come in and say, "Oh yeah, I don't use that. I still write blog posts by hand." You do what? Why? What's the purpose? Why would I pay you for that?
Yep. I jump on the train or you become obsolete. I personally think that engineering roles will not necessarily be eliminated, but will evolve. I think certainly junior roles, I think a lot around testing, like what you guys are doing, are going to become more and more automated.
No.
But
that is right.
My prediction will be an evolution, not
it wasn't a wipeout
of
of finance people when Excel showed up. But there was a wipeout of finance people who refused to learn Excel. Those who did learn Excel excelled in their career. And those who didn't went home with a pencil and a ledger book and nothing to do, right? So don't be one of those. I think this is, in tech, the most exciting time that I've ever seen, with advancements happening every week in content generation, in ideation, in creation. It is like nothing else. And it's making us all more productive. It's made me smarter because I'm creating and editing and thinking about 10 times the amount of content I ever did before. So I'm processing what I do.
Well, and it's like you literally have an expert to bounce ideas off of. And
give me 10 ideas for. And I look at them, I go, well, 7 of them and I had right at the tip of my tongue. The other 3 I never thought of. Okay. But now, and people say, well, that ended your critical thinking. No, I would have never thought of those 3. Okay. So those 3 actually added to my thinking. And then I started thinking, how do I talk about those? How do I incorporate those into what I'm doing? So if you're not using it as a crutch or a crux, right? And instead you're saying, this is my, idea generator that's right next to me. And you might write, like I'm writing a book. You've got a book. I'm writing a book called The Joy Success Factor. And The Joy Success Cycle, actually. It was the fact. Now it's The Joy Success Cycle. And very excited about it. It comes out of people asking me why I'm always so joyful and how can that be? Because there's successes and there's failures and this and that. And I am learning all the time. And I actually lay out a way that you can live your life to the highest level of success that you can have and have the most amount of joy at every turn. And it's literally a workbook, like just follow this rather than a foo-foo book of happiness. I don't care about that. It's like, just follow this plan. It's just about done. But then, as you know,
what's your goal to have this done by?
Getting it, you're never done, but getting it published is a whole other thing. And I don't know if you did yours,
you're never
self-published, hybrid, or large publisher. Which one did you do? Okay. And can I ask who the publisher is? You want to tell everyone?
Mine is in a hybrid model.
Okay, so soon you will say that. Okay, so it's one of the hybrid publishers of which
I can't say that yet.
Yeah, look, they're all good models. Yes. They're all different. The hybrid publisher is going to be a lot faster. Self-publishing, I put it out tomorrow, and a big publisher is going to be 6 to 12 months, and they're not going to do much for you. So you have to decide which direction you want to go. But even in the book, I would write part of a chapter, and then I'd say, look, for this audience who is this demographic and I want to get this out of it, rewrite my paragraph. And I get it back, and a lot of it's the same, and some of it's just better English. The prose is better than I could write because I am a tech guy. I'm not an English literature major, right? Like you. I'm not going to do that as well. So besides the editors and the ghostwriters that help and all that, I have found that the LLMs are also very helpful, articulating what I'm trying to say sometimes much better in writing than I would have written it.
I agree 100%. Now, Kevin, a lot of our listeners are software leaders. You have over 100-person engineering team. Would love to hear your approach as a seasoned CTO who's Your
Ah,
LinkedIn experience is so long. I think you're going to get cut off from LinkedIn. You've done a lot. How do you go
yeah.
about
So
managing your
we are
engineering team?
well
What
on
kind of
AppVance.
models? Are
We're
you fully remote,
fully remote,
hybrid?
basically. I
Tell
built
us.
the engineering team, the dev team in Costa Rica. It was much less expensive than the US. Did that 14 years ago before it was fashionable to do so. Today it is. So yes, exactly.
Now, I would have to agree as I run a
I
nearshore
love
company
Latin
with
America, and it's
over
near
100
shore, and it's a
engineers
great
throughout
time
Latin
zone
America,
that works
including Costa
really
Rica.
well. The
So I
people are very
agree.
smart. So I've had really good luck with that team, and these are it's a very specialized thing to do testing of web and mobile devices, because you have to really understand the architecture of sort of the source code that's living in the browser, right? So you have to understand stuff that you normally wouldn't have to do, right? So it's not like writing an application. It's like, wow, I got to write an application that interfaces with other applications in ways that those other applications never want you to do. And so there's a lot of tricks to that trade. And most of our people have been with us more than 10 years, like a very long time. So they're really, really, really good at what they do. Look, I
That's
think
impressive.
it always comes down to a couple of things. One, build a great culture. I build transparent cultures. It's like, hey, here's what's going well. Here's what's not. Here's where we succeeded. And guys, here's where we didn't succeed and we did poorly, or we messed up for this customer, or we did not get back to them, or there was a communication error, or whatever. I am not afraid in our industry to say, all right, we have 24 hours, guys. I don't know who you're going to pull, but you got 24 hours to address this issue and get it back to this customer. And what's interesting is some people are not meant to do that, and they usually quit within about 3 days. They go, this is not how I work, right? I want to be on a big project that takes 6 months and more of a waterfall kind of thing. But other people enjoy that thrill and like, great, I'll lead it, I'll dig in. We're going to work throughout the day. We're going to pound this out. And then, they're really thoughtful. They're strategic about how we're going to go about it. They go out to the whiteboard. You get 2 or 3 people around that might include me on a remote whiteboard, right? We pound out the ways to solve this problem. And then we find, it might be 30 lines of code, right? Often it's not that much code. It's a lot of strategy. It's a lot of being thoughtful about what's the cause, or how do we solve it, or how do we add this feature without breaking other things, etc. So I think it's a business that has a very fast turn time of response, because when a customer is down, like they're about to test something and they can't test this thing because you don't support X. And I said, why did you write it that way? So for example, people write applications where what you see is not what's actually happening. You got hidden elements under an element. This is a really bad idea, right? There's no purpose for that other than just bad coding,
Sure.
my opinion. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Tech
So
debt,
now there's a button that's hidden under the button, but you can't see
building
the button.
on top of bad code.
And yet I'm supposed to push that other button. And I'm supposed to know how to access that, right? It turns out that's a hard problem to solve, because even the user who is training us doesn't know that button is under the other button. Like, nobody knows. It's been hidden there for 5 years. So these are the kinds of problems. And when someone's down and they go, I can't test it all because I can't even hit the login button, you go, all right, well, we have 24 hours to find a solution, because we got to have you back up. You can't be dead. And that's a tough environment, and you have to be built for that. But look, it's culture. It's the fact that people come to us because, they're at the state of the art of AI. Everybody gets to work on these AI models. It's absolute state of the art. They feel like they know a lot about interfacing with a variety of transformer types, right? Multimodals and different train transformers, and training them differently and doing different kinds of RAG. Those are great skills. So I think the skills that people have and are gaining are exciting to them, even though it's a high pressure environment, and it's an open and transparent culture. You get the good, you get the bad. I never like these CEOs that keep telling their engineers and keep telling everyone, everything's so great, isn't it great? Rah, rah, rah. No, there's days it isn't. Run these companies. There's bad days where you lose a customer because you screwed up, and you've done it and I've done it, and it's just the way of the world, right? I mean, there's no such thing as zero churn.
I'm a big believer in a transparent culture like you, and not just putting on a smiley face and pretending like everything's okay. So, Kevin, as a CTO and CEO in 2025,
hiring
what's the biggest
great
challenge
people
you're
is
facing
always
right
a
now?
challenge, right? And you know this, right? Because you really don't know how good they are until they're with you for a while, and then you go, actually, they're not as good as we thought they were. And it's a gamble, right? And by this is true in coding, but it's
Sometimes
true
it's
in
a
dev,
gamble.
it's true in sales, it's true in everything. So I think hiring good people and highly productive people is some of the best work you can do. Because if you got a highly productive, energized team, all rowing in the same direction, you have a company that's unstoppable, right? But it's very hard to build that, and it's hard to do that, and it's hard to keep it, especially as you grow. You get more people, and I just gotta have bodies in that team because I made this commitment, and well, they're not the best, but that's what I've got. And these are all the trade-offs we make as a leader, whether CEO or CTO. I think the other thing is the rate of change of AI over the last 2.5 years has been so fast that to keep up.
There's not one tech leader, CEO, CTO that's
we're
not
always
struggling with
chasing
that.
it.
That's the good problem of where we
have a lot
are.
of
We're
patents.
always chasing.
Best I can tell, we're years ahead of anyone else who is in sort of the software test automation business. But another challenge we have as a company is, call it there's 10 players out there that matter, or 5 to 10 that matter in end-to-end automation. All of them stuck AI on their website. AI first, AI driven, AI this, AI that. And all I have to do is go up to them at their booth, and I know a lot of them. I say, tell me what algorithms you're using and how it works. Well, there's some AI. Don't BS me, okay? I invented the virtual assistant. I know a lot about this. Stop it. Just tell me what you're doing. And
we used to scan companies' websites to be like, wow, you have AI mentioned 432 times. Tell us what you're doing.
Managers or CTOs, other CTOs I know, and we'll sit down and have a glass of wine or beer or whatever it is. And I go, so tell me about your AI. Well, Kevin, we don't have any. Yeah, I do know that, but your website says something completely different. Well, marketing, blah blah blah. So I would tell you in our field and in many fields, look, I think it's not just about having real AI, real deep learning, real ML, if that's what it takes, right? Because there's other algorithms other than just deep learning and other than transformers. But are you doing something that is going to drive real results, productivity results that are measurable for your clients? Productivity meaning 50%, 90%, 95%. I've got customers that were able to measure 100x productivity improvement from where they were to 2 years later using our AI technology. 100 times X. Now, if everybody would understand that, that'd be great. But instead, we get prospects coming to us and say, well, yeah, we just found you. We'll try you out. But, we're already looking at 8 other people that say AI, and they're probably all going to be great. I said, no, there's no AI. You have to trust me. And, it's hard to say that, right? So there's a lot of AI washing. I think that's bad. I think it's really bad. And high quality CTOs, CEOs, et cetera, don't do that. Like, if you have AI, have it. Tell us what it is. Tell the world what it is. Be proud of it. If you don't, say it's something that we're working towards, which is fine. It's something we'll have in a few years. But I can tell you, I know that, to do what we do requires a digital twin, because you have to move back and forth within an application without breaking the states. Listen to what I said. I got to move back and forth in an application without breaking the states. I can't do that in a live application. I will I don't know what states I've got, right? So I have to have a digital twin of the application. All right. We spent 8 years developing digital twin technology. We have 6 patents on it. No one else has it. Like, that's the basis of doing, sort of generating these kinds of new test cases and scripts by itself. So nobody's even at the digital twin stage. We had our first digital twin in 2018. So, I know the other CTOs, and again, behind closed doors, they go, I had one tell me, you're at least 5 years ahead of us. We have no clue how you did what you did. I said, we publish a white paper you can read about it. By the way, there's patents. You can go read the patents. Yeah, but oh my God, it's 350 pages, So I think, look, we're not the biggest, but we're really proud. I'm really proud of the team. We are really proud of the technology. We are blown away for our customers. They're just mind blown. The gobsmack. So that's good. And that's fun. Whether we'll long-term be successful with the biggest company, I don't know. You've been in this industry. You know how that is. But I couldn't be more excited about the technology advances that we've made to change the software development lifecycle forever and change regression testing forever.
So Kevin, you've been involved. You have exciting things going on with AppVance. You've been involved in a lot of companies over your impressive 30-year career. What's one brutal lesson you wish you would have learned earlier that with those scars and bruises humble, now?
Because it doesn't matter how excited you are about the technology or even your customers, right? There's always someone with a bigger marketing budget and a bigger sales budget, and often the best technology does not win. Often the biggest marketing budget wins, and it's usually not me, so because I'm putting it all in tech because I'm so excited about the tech, right? So be humble, because it's very hard to win in these industries. You know what the stats are. At sort of the pre-seed level, or maybe seed, light seed, small seed, friends and family, 1 in 100 are going to make it big. And finally, you get venture money, 1 in 10 are going to make it big. Rough numbers, right? 1 in 10, 1 in 100. So be humble. And, if you've done 30 companies and 10 were successful, you're crushing it. That's incredible.
I used to be embarrassed of the 20 losses, and I had to take a step
if
back.
you were a
and be like, if I was a
VC, it's
baseball
one of the
player,
best
that's
outcomes
a
any
333
VC's
batting
ever
average.
had
That would
in
get me in the
50
Hall of
years.
Fame. There you go. Now, Kevin, you said you have a son and a daughter. If one of them wanted to follow your path and be,
I'd say,
start
look,
a tech
there are better
company
careers.
or,
I think
and
the
or be
great
a
careers
CTO,
going
what
forward
would you
are
tell
going to
them?
be plumber, HVAC repair, and electrician. That's right. It's going to be a long time before
Because
we send an
AI probably
robot in to
won't
take care of your
change
plumbing.
those much.
And at least in Silicon Valley, those plumbers are, $350 an hour or so now. So you can do the math on that, and you go, why would I ever want to run a company or be a software engineer when I can make that money just cleaning toilets? I'm half kidding, but not half kidding,
Well, Kevin, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for getting uncensored with us today. That's it for this episode of Software Leaders Uncensored. I'm Steve Taplin. Stay bold, keep building, and use these tidbits from great leaders like Kevin to mold what you're doing. Thank you. That's a wrap. Another great episode of Software Leaders Uncensored. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun doing this show. I love talking with great tech leaders. As a side note, if you're interested, check out my new book, Fail Hard, Win Big. This is the story of how I built 30 companies, failed on 20, and turned 10 into multi-million-dollar wins. The common thread with all of them was custom software. Also, if you need software development help out there, my company, Sonatify Technology, we deliver world-class software development engineers out of Latin America. We have a solid track record of helping companies launch better products and faster. Thanks again for listening. Appreciate it and appreciate you.